Hello, everyone, and welcome to Imperator Rome, or Imperator Rome. Here I am with 10 tips on how to improve your economy. So this is in the Amarius update. Most people are struggling with the new economic system, so I thought I would give you some basic tips on how to improve it. Here at the basic Rome start date, because I figured most of you guys will be playing with this. So, first off, your economy in this update is surprisingly centered around commerce. Now, Rome does not start with a big economy at the beginning of the game, but as the game quickly moves on, this base tax, you get 2 from taxes. You get a base of that. And then the rest comes from your provinces. Very quickly, though, your commerce income is going to eclipse that, and it's meant to. So let's get into how does that make a difference. So your economy is based around trade. Therefore, the more trade routes you have, the better off you are. This is why there is such a thing as entice business investments for a percent of political power or plus money. As you improve this further, it's going to start costing money. That's just the way it goes. It invests reasonably quickly. You see this wall of trade popping up here? I'm letting it pop up here for a reason, just so you can see how important trade is. So we're going to get rid of all these. And while we'll let that process further on. We'll do that in a bit. So what you want to do to help with that is, first off, on the trade tab, you want to go to here and click accept all trades. This means you will accept any trade offer someone sends you trying to buy your goods, unless you lose your capital bonus. You do not want to lose your capital bonus. That's pretty important. Right here, you want this checked as well. This will prevent you from losing any bonuses from having multiple resources, which can be considerable. Depending on the resource, you can get additional tax, additional research points, or even discipline on your, say, heavy infantry, which is Rome, is very valuable. So that is how you do that. You want to make sure to do that at the beginning of pretty much every game you play. The other thing, and this is nicely hidden on the nation overview, but it's associated with trade, is you want to go to the administration tab here. And you want to click your way to provinces. You can do it through governorships, but provinces are better. You see this right here? You can release subjects, which for those of you who don't know, you can do that. Can help you in some cases. But the big one is right over here, enable automatic trade. Yes, there is a way to, in fact, automate your trade routes. Rather than having to go in here and go, okay, I'm going to buy trade from these guys. The game will automatically emphasize food. Here's the bonuses I was telling you about. And it can be very powerful. It is not the best system. They've done a good job. It's not overwhelmingly amazing. It takes time to actually update and process that you have trade routes. I don't know why this is taking a while. Sometimes it takes a while to actually set up the trade routes. I can't tell you exactly how long it takes to set up the trade routes, only that it will eventually set up trade routes. Kind of stupid. There we go. We've added an additional trade route. Current trade imports, currently none. That's annoying. Anyway, that is an important thing to do because your commerce is going to be the vast majority of your income. As you can see, I'm making quite a lot of money here, and right now I'm basically just selling goods. I'm not really buying anything at the moment because most of my provinces don't have trade routes. Those that do, you get money from them. Those that don't, you don't get as much. But as you can see, we're already making about as much money from taxes, excepting, of course, the default 2 we get there. So if we go into Rome here, and I'm just going to do grain here initially, because usually there's a lot of grain in the world. And livestock. There's usually enough livestock I can buy a ton of. All these, of course, have different amounts of money. So obviously focusing on the higher ones like papyrus, incense, dyes, and silk can be very useful. But at the beginning game, the vast majority of what you'll be importing is food or strategic resources. In this case, we're going all into livestock. So 2.8 will go to a new month. 3.1. So it can be considerable, as this is, of course, a starting Rome. We went from almost making no money to making money. You need to do this with everybody. It's a reason this provincial investment exists. Use it. As you can see, it costs 20 gold now, then it'll be 40. This makes free provincial investments very valuable. You probably want to concentrate them in your capital area. That's going to be your best bet by and large. Another thing is most of your income in this game, although it's coming from commerce, a lot of it comes from trade itself. And the trade can be affected greater by your buildings. And this is why cities contribute more money. First off, they can support more population, which is always valuable, which means you do get some tax from them and other stuff. But under here, under the marketplace building, local base trade routes plus 2.5. Say in Rome, you build, let's say, 5 of them, or in this case, 3, because we don't have enough money. So this would add an additional 7.5 right here. If we built more, as we increase this number, it all combines to make Rome capable of having a massive amount of trade import routes very quickly and funding your old empire. Certain provinces have bonuses towards, trade stuff. One I'm thinking right here in Syracuse, the Copper Shield of Athena gives plus 2 trade routes. If you're Rome and you conquer this, stick it in one of your Roman cities if you build a holy place. It'll add even more. Very useful. Another thing a lot of people make the mistake of is they conquer tons of land and they go, hey, why is my income falling? The reason is forts. Now, the AI does not pay the same upkeep as everyone else. That is, a given. As you'll see, the AI has tons of forts. Every single province here has a fort, which means, by and large, when you conquer it, every single province that you conquer is going to have a fort in it. You do not want all of these forts. You do not want all of them. Forts are expensive. As you can see, we're spending almost 2 gold on forts. Our wages for all our government officials and our fleet barely exceed our fort amount. If we raise a legion, you would very quickly see that it is less, as a matter of fact, than the upkeep from forts very quickly. So what you want to do is you want to concentrate the forts. So example right here is Rome has obviously forts in both of these provinces. I'm not going to try and pronounce this one, but Rome, you don't really want this. Now, this is an exception because this fort right here, because of zone of control, blocks access through these 2 provinces, which prevents them from walking by along with this mountain range, forcing people to go way out of their way. Very good. But normally, this would not be a good fort in Rome. Now, obviously, it's our capital, so we want it. But normally, you'd want to get rid of that fort to save money because this fort right here is already protecting this area. Now, there are weird rules with forts I'm not going to get into, but suffice to say is greater levels of forts are going to be much more beneficial for you than a bunch of level 1 forts scattered everywhere. Yes, the cost rises, but a fort's job is not really to stop an invading army, it's to delay it. So don't really think of forts as stopping invading armies. You'd need a massive level fort to stop any army in this game outside of small, 2K armies. 2K armies can take a level 1 fort, by the way. But once you get into the successor states or India, they're going to have 30,000 troops, which is going to massively exceed a fort. But a level 4 fort is going to delay them long enough for you to muster your troops, march over there, and defeat them. If you're lucky, you defeat them on the fort. Okay, next tip. Yeah, the economic tab. Now, this is a pretty obvious one, but people still miss it. Your economy tab has different options. You have your fort maintenance. You have your fleet maintenance. You have your army maintenance. You have wages. These are all very important things. If you are not at war and you're not going to be fighting anybody, by all means, lower your army maintenance. Now, of course, we don't have a legion right now, so it doesn't make a difference. But it would for example, on our fleet. Cut it almost half. The fleet one is 50%. It's really considerable. It's only 25 on the army, which is a little annoying. Affects taxes because of integrated culture happiness goes up, which boosts the tax stuff. In case you're wondering why the income is changing even though I'm messing with expenses. And of course you can up it if you want to pay more to have a better army. Might be worth this if you're a small city state to up it during war, even if you've levied your troops, just because the morale is going to help. Plus the levy size. Yeah, you want to do that. However, you can do taxes. If you're having trouble with income, you can cut your tax. Since tax is less valuable than commerce, this can be an easy boost to a 10% population happiness in all provinces. I don't like changing it that much. Commerce, interestingly enough, can be played with a bit. If you're exporting a lot, you might want to go free trade. If you're importing a lot, you might go transaction taxation. But by and large, I found that commerce, which just gives 2 import routes in your capital, is usually the best choice. Tributes you can do stuff on. If you want subjects to be loyal to you, this also applies to feudatories and client states, not just tributary states. So as Rome, you have several client states at the beginning of the game. They don't always like you that much, but if you swap around to a low tributary policy, and considering you get no money from them anyway, can be quite useful to make them happy. Because if we flip around to the other side, they will all of a sudden not be so happy with us, I believe. Yes, Rome policy is -50. So that's a very good tip. Turn off tributes if you don't have any tributaries. Saves you a lot of grief. The other thing is, a lot of people don't realize it, is a good portion of your economy comes from your religion. Now, not going to get into religious stuff. You should know most of this, but for those of you who don't know, you can click on these to call up an omen. It's worth doing, specifically on ones like Mercury here, which gives citizen output default, but if you click on it, it adds 15% commerce income. Once you're starting to talk hundreds of gold flowing in and out, it makes a big difference. Just added us like 0.3 gold, which is pretty useful. Once you conquer all of Italy, that's more like 15 gold. Not 0.15, 15. You're the size of the Seleucids or Egypt or the Antigonids or even the Mora, you can make a lot of money. It's worth swapping around your gods here to try and find the best ones for you. Thankfully, as Rome, Mercury is right up there. Other ones can provide a base tax, which could be nice, but since commerce is more valuable, you probably want one that gives you commerce income. You want to click on those constantly. You want to make sure one of those is almost always activated. Omens are virtually free. The only thing you're really giving up is the ability to activate the other ones, which you want to save the war one for war. But if you're just sitting around, it's probably worth grabbing the income one. Okay, the next one is stances. Now, by stances, I don't mean the wonderful little army stance when you raise troops. Let me just raise a troop here so you can see. You can set the stance on what, it's more called tactics. Some call it stances. You can pick what you want here. I'm not talking that. I'm talking governor policies. Now, for those of you who don't know, you want to open this up. And over here, you can choose the government policies. This is very useful. You want to be using this. This can give you everything from keeping your provinces loyal if they're about to revolt. That's a 0.3 provincial loyalty. It's really good. If you've got rebellious territory that you're not going to be able to control anyway, might as well get lower 40% output and increase your provincial loyalty. But the big one is right here, encourage trade, plus 25% commerce income. You probably want this in your capital, not only for the food, which is useful, but the income is great. If you don't have a lot of commerce at the beginning of the game, you can do acquisition of wealth and get tax and commerce. Be aware that your governors will change these policies every time there's a new governor, usually. You want to check up on that. You can use the provinces stuff here to choose them. It doesn't make a lot of sense to have a fortification policy here in Latium once you've already subdued the whole area. I will make a side note here. This civilization effort, very useful. Promoting civilization in your lands helps you with barbarians. I'll go more into that in another video probably. Next tip. Diplomatic stances. Okay, so this one is not only economy, but other stuff. Down here on your diplomacy tab, you have different stances you can set. Most people just stay with the default one, but if you click on this, you'll find there are different stances with different effects. One of the big ones, mercantile stance, adds 25% commerce income. Stack that with other stuff, you start to see how you can make a lot of money from commerce. Plus it improves relations with everyone around it, which is nice. Neutral stance, not very useful. Appeasing stance, great after you've conquered tons of land and you've got a lot of AE. Take it. 0.2 aggressive expansion decay is wonderful. Bellicose, if you're conquering stuff, which, most of the big nations are. Rome starts in that. Makes it cheaper to take land, easier, fabricate claims faster. Dominating stance is good if you get a lot of city-states. The Antigonids particularly like that stance at the beginning of the game because they have lots of subjects. prevents them from belling, and allows you to integrate them faster. Okay, next tip. Buildings. So this is one a lot of people wonder about. What buildings should you build? Well, I've already kind of given you a bit of a tip on this. Marketplaces, pretty valuable. However, there are other important buildings. So first off, you have your forts. As I said, concentrate them, one province, maybe two if it's an attacked area a lot. Valuable, expensive. It's the only real one that costs tons of money here. Next one is ports. Obviously, you can only put that on your port provinces. It's nice. Basically, helps you with constructing buildings. You need a port to construct buildings. Thankfully, you can build ports almost anywhere on the coast. So, basically, you can build them. A lot of places start with them. Helps with capacity if you want to grow your coastal provinces larger. But really, unless it's a city, you don't care about it that much. Aqueducts you're going to need to build tall. Rome, in particular, is going to need a lot of them. I played a whole game as Rome since this update came out, but about 100 years further into this, I had about 100 plus population in Rome. I had like 6 aqueducts. It was crazy, and I still needed more. That's also why there is promote infrastructure spending plus 2.5 population capacity. This is kind of a tricky one because if you don't have a lot of population capacity, you don't gain much, but stacked with aqueducts goes up a lot. Same sort of thing with marketplaces and trade routes. You stack them, you can get pretty high on trade routes and stuff. Granary just helps your people from starving. Build it in your large cities. That way, if your food supply is adjusted, you have time to recover. Also, where you base your legions. Otherwise, don't build it. Not really worth it. There's better civilization buildings. Libraries, great if you're trying to convert things and get research points. So most of your major cities should probably have at least one library in them just to convert all the population that's going to be flowing through them. Your capital definitely needs 1 or 2 of them, especially if you're getting lots of slaves from wars. Marketplaces, already kind of explained, great if you're centralizing commerce. Training camps, I haven't had a lot of trouble with manpower in this new update. Not a big issue, especially if you're using legions, which you should be. If you need manpower, build it. Otherwise, don't. You'll get events that allow you to build them for free a lot of the time. Same thing. You'll get an event that gives you a choice between a fort and trading camp. 95% of the time, you want the trading camp. Tax office, extra local tax. Nice if you have tons of slaves in a province. Outside of that, sadly, you're better going with commerce right now. Mills, this is how you can get tons of slaves. You are limited to 3 of all these type buildings. These are your pop buildings. But if you really want, plus 30 slaves in a province turn into one, like you have a very valuable trade good, like incense or something. Remember I told you that these are valuable gemstones right here. If you got a province that's producing gemstones and it's a city, it might be worth putting a lot of slaves there so you make more money, get more trade goods. Be pretty useful. Plus, it makes your slaves happier. Don't build them in cities where you want research or manpower from. Freemen here basically supply small tax, lots of manpower. Half decent. Large cities, you may want one of these just to boost the happiness a little bit. Then we've got Courts of Law. This one is the only one out of these that actually proves to be more useful than the others. This one provides loyalty on top of, your standard citizen ratio and stuff. Citizens are good. They provide pretty good benefits. Provide manpower and research points. But you really want nobles. The manpower you're going to get more from freemen. Citizens have kind of fallen in the weird spot of being useful, but not overwhelmingly. So build this, especially in provinces where you have a little bit of loyalty trouble. 0.1 is not a lot, but it does help, especially if you get 3 of them. Or you have a lot of cities. Like you could build one in each of these and have a very loyal province. Then you have your academies. So nobles are pretty unhappy pop. Like they have base happiness -20. It's just really painful. It hurts. You've got all the different base happiness of stuff. Like tribesman is 16. You really want to keep an eye on all this. But nobles are hard to keep happy, and they matter a lot because they have a lot of political power and stuff. So build an academy in almost every city. As a rule, I probably build it before the other ones. It's quite helpful. Next, we get to the ones locked behind tech. So as you can see, you need fortified camps to build an earthenwork. You need blacksmith apprentices, and then you need open religion and gradual economic integration. So out of these, the foundry is not bad, especially if you're using levies and you want troops with good starting experience and you want to be able to have slaves. So again, put this probably in cities where you're going to build a lot of slaves to stack the bonuses to get slaves needed for local surplus lower. It'll give you more trade goods. You trade them, you make more money. Plus you have more slaves. I haven't really used it that much. Earthworks, if you're going to be doing defense and it's going to constantly be sieged a province, so like you've got a chokehold, like one of the most sieged provinces in the game, right around here, quite useful. Sadly, you have to do a tech to get it, and it's not a very common tech. This one right here, Great Temple, might be your most useful one out of all of these. This increases your ability to convert things, and it provides provincial loyalty, which is very useful. Sadly, you can only build one in a territory, but it does a very good job converting pops to your religion. And by and large, your religion is going to be your biggest block, I found, to expansion. Not so much culture. There's the culture tab to deal with that, which I'm not going into in this video. It's worthy of a whole video. But that's what Grand Theater does, is assimilate them. I find religion a bigger issue. It affects not only your happiness, but it also affects your omen power and stuff, because you have low religious unity stuff. So I recommend trying to get open religion, which you can find in tech, religious advances. You can find it under, you can find it here, basically. It's relatively simple to get to. It's worth doing. You really want to get open religion as soon as possible. Have I lost it somehow? I think I've lost it somehow. Oh well. Yeah. Open religion. Why isn't that where it was? Oh well. Basically, find open religion and focus it, because it's going to help you a lot. There's open religion right there. Third one. Sorry. I don't know why I thought it was there. You want this. Open religion. Pretty much as soon as you can get it. It's very useful. Very, very, very useful. The next one I'm going to talk about, and this is the last one, a little bit less economically focused, but something that a lot of people make the mistake of, is ships. Obviously, you can only build ships where you have ports. I recommend about 15 ships max. At that point, you want to go here, put them on independent operations, and give them a commander. You don't really need high-level ships. I started out with 15 ships. 30 years later, I look over, I had 150 ships. Those ships will go out and hunt all the pirates that pop up and raid your lands and invading fleets. 15, unless you're fighting someone like Carthage or someone that's built a lot of naval ships, is more than enough. Not only will they attack them, they will then take over their ships. So those 15 can quickly become 150. And you really don't have to build ships. Build 15 or 20. That's really about it. So, quick summary. Your economy is based on trade. Use the auto trade function and block surplus. You want more cities to get more money, partially because they contribute to trade routes, which you want to focus on. It's all very useful. You want to concentrate your forts, so delete the old forts. That's going to make a very big difference. You want to use the economic tab for the upkeep. If you're not at war, you shouldn't have your army maintenance on high, basically, is the rule. Just remember that. Pretty simple. You want to click on your omens of your religion groups, specifically the ones that give you economy, can make a big difference in the long run. Stances, you want to, if you need money, go to the diplomatic one, swap to mercantile. It'll give you 25% more commerce income, which should be your largest income. It's going to change the world in terms of your economy. Check your governor policy. Some governor policies are great for assimilating, not so great for making money. Encouraging trade, much more valuable than borderlands type policies. Build buildings, focus on trade buildings in provinces like your capital where you're focusing trade. Otherwise, probably tax office and slaves. And in terms of just other general buildings, you probably want one to do speed up conversion and assimilation, keep your nobles happy, and increase capacity. And your final one is don't build more than like 15, 20 ships and then set them loose on the world, and you'll never have to deal with a Navy ship again. That's it. I'm going to do another guide for more tips, focused a little bit more towards warfare and general culture stability probably. So if you've enjoyed this one, please do like, subscribe, the whole deal, and check out that guide when it comes out. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.